You got a trophy.
Welcome to Midlife Krisis. Today, a special one, Uncle Bob. A special one. Look at that. We're here to talk about water bottles and tote bags, and that's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. So, yes, my partner and muse over here is alluding to the fact that we are going to talk about Pikmin.
I love this topic because although we are both gamers, the Venn diagrams between us only overlap by about 20%.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's you showing me weird crap like when we do the Let's Plays. But every now and then there's a game where we're both like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's for both of us.
This is one of those games and one of those franchises.
It's Pikmin, Daddy.
Nice.
Thank you. There's a little leaf I put on the eye, but because it's green screen, I could not color it green.
Yeah.
So just use your imagination. That's a cute little green leaf.
Okay.
And we'll leave it there. So let's address these wonderful tchotchkes because I have a fun story, a very fun, dare I say, slightly braggadocious from a luck standpoint story.
Yeah, totally.
But so we're both suckers. We're both trick-ass marks. And we pre-order our special games.
Yeah.
You pre-order far more than I do.
Well, you see it online where it's like there is kind of a movement amongst the younger culture to try to convince people to not pre-order.
Yeah.
And I sort of agree with that in spirit mostly. But then there are still, like almost every big Nintendo first-party game I'll pre-order.
You get presents.
This I pre-order.
You get frickin' presents. So you did Best Buy, correct?
Correct.
So
it's a Best Buy pre-order.
Best Buy gives you this. And I'm going to just say this. This is a handsome, high-quality shopping tote. I'm actually pretty jealous.
Yes.
I went Walmart and I got this pretty dumpy bottle. I think the paint on it, like that part, looks kind of neat, and I'll show it off here, like this deal. But it's very low quality. I'll say that, and the lid sucks. But let me ask you a question. Did you?
The answer is yes. I am going to use the tote bag in court.
Okay,
we already talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to carry my client files into the tote bag.
Obviously.
Are you ready for a lawyer?
Yeah. I mean, do you want? Me and Ochi are here to say not guilty. Oh man, that's fantastic. What I was going to ask you though is did you pay money for your Pikmin 4?
Did I pay money for my?
Yeah. Did you pay?
4?
Did you pay currency?
Yes.
Okay.
It turns out Nintendo likes it when you pay money for their products.
So I didn't. Just full disclosure here, and don't look me up. But there was this little thing that happened with Walmart. And there was a Reddit post. I believe it's still there. Luckily, our show is not on a level of popularity where it's going to jam me. It's going to come back and jam me.
It's going to jam me up.
But so I pre-ordered at Best Buy. I pre-ordered with my PayPal, which for whatever reason, I use PayPal with a lot of retail stuff just because it's been that way for years.
Wait, you said you pre-ordered Best Buy?
No, I'm sorry.
Walmart.
If I did, I meant Walmart.
Okay, yeah.
I pre-ordered from Walmart. Right. And I have been pre-ordering from Walmart because with my Nintendo stuff, because by and large they've been kicking ass in the free presents department. The water bottle, look, I don't hate it, but could have been better. I have a Switch Sports water bottle, much better. Anyway, here's the deal. This is where things get juicy. So I pre-ordered using PayPal, and everything was fine. Pre-ordered sometime I think in late July. And everything was good. A week before the game comes out, I get a email from Walmart that says that they've price adjusted my order and refunded me all of my money back. And that went through PayPal back onto my credit card. Pretty much read the email, got the money back in my account. They shipped the game. They don't have their money.
You got the money and the loot.
I got the money and the loot. Obviously, look. I'm a grown ass man. I earn a living. I can buy things that I want, but every time you get a freebie, okay?
Oh, I know.
You gotta grab them and you gotta hug them. These moments, these magical moments where they come down, where they shine down on Daddy, because they're few and they're far between.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got Pikmin 4 and this fucking water bottle for $0. And it's probably never going to happen to me ever again. ever again.
You only need it once, though. You only need it once.
And to that, I'll say thank you, Walton family, for being so generous, and for being negligent in whatever.
Walton family.
Yeah.
when I pre-ordered and then you told the story in our gaming chat that you might be getting it for free, or you might not be getting it at all.
Yes, that was the other part that was possible.
Even though we're good friends and we do the show together, I really didn't want you to get it for free.
I understand.
I had to pay for it.
I understand.
So like the 8-year-old that I am, I was like, well, if he got it for free, I'm going to call Best Buy and I'm going to tell them that he got it for free. So I need to get my game for free.
Please don't rat me out. Please don't rat me out. Don't do this. Don't take this from me.
When you do pre-orders, also you do the mail to you, right?
Oh yeah.
And that has not failed you. Oh, actually, but didn't that fail you? I thought there was a big game that came out recently. You got a couple of days later.
Yeah,
was it Advance Wars?
Was it? It was Advance Wars. Yeah. It was Advance Wars. Yeah, I got it a day late because of that.
That's the risk.
But you know, hey, I went Amazon on that one because there was no present from Walmart, so I went Amazon.
Whenever I pre-order, I always do store pickup. The drive is only 10 minutes. And during the drive, this happens every time because I'm such a true believer when it comes to video games. It's like that scene in Leaving Las Vegas where Nicolas Cage is buying alcohol in the store, where he's just kind of happy and pushing the cart along. And just like, all right, guys, we're doing it.
I'm going to drink myself to death.
Yeah, every time when I'm driving to go pick up the pre-ordered product, it's just like, new video games coming. Yeah. It's like, I'm 43, right? So it's been like 30 years of this so far. It's like, new game, all right.
That's so funny that you bring that up too, because I was just talking to somebody, a friend of mine, about that same thing. Like, so manuals are gone; they're all gone. Like, you can get games from like Limited Run or some of the other like boutique publishers that like will throw you like a 4 or 5 page manual in a game these days. But they've been mainstream gone since the PS3 360 era, if I recall correctly. But yeah, the fact that I don't get to read a manual like after you buy a game right away, like that part it's gone and it's never coming back. And it's funny because we both have friends that pick on us saying like, why do you buy physical games?
Yeah, this happened in fact.
Yeah, and it's like, well, they've already taken away my manual. They're not going to take away my fucking cellophane and cracking that bad boy open and so on and so forth.
Oh, and in fact, I think in this house you have, the studio, you have SimCity. Don't you have the Super Nintendo SimCity and the manual for that?
I have SimCity. I don't have that manual. I don't have any Super Nintendo manuals anymore.
I thought I was here when I did it. I just looked at the SimCity manual recently.
Oh, it's a dream piece.
And I don't know where I was, but it's like a 80-page book.
It's huge, yeah.
And it's awesome. And it took me back to 1991 where I sold all my 8-bit Nintendo games to buy SimCity.
Yep.
Simulated.
We've all,
and I would
just layman.
And I just sat in my room that night and like read before even playing the game.
Oh yeah.
Like the true scholar that I am. And I just read through the entire 80-page manual, just getting giddy about the game before playing. I miss manuals a lot. Like that was a loss.
I will say so Limited Run Games, they're now a very, very popular company. There's some things about their business practices that kind of stink. For example, you give them money and you get a game like 17 months after the fact. That I'm not in love with, but it is what it is. But I will say, like, they're keeping their whole mantra of keeping everything physical, and that includes like the tchotchkes, like the manuals, and like if you want to spend a little extra money, you get like these other, like art book CDs, even like weird fun stuff. They did a Night Trap version several years ago that came with like a VHS tape of all of the movies of Night Trap stitched together, like
right in your wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah, it's just my sweet spot. I bought their version of Double Switch starring the one and only Corey Haim. And it
fan of the show.
Fan of the show, the spirit of Corey Haim. But that came with like an audio tape of like the band from Double Switch. Anyway, they're out there fighting the good fight. I wish they could do their business differently to where it doesn't feel like they're, like periodically stealing money from you. But it's fine. I'll say this. I've bought maybe over the years like 6 or 7 games from them, and I've gotten all of them, which is not something that some Kickstarter people can't claim.
Man, when the Switch came out, I remember like I bought it that day, and then you buy your games, and the games that's how big the game cartridge holders are. And then the cartridges themselves are the size of a thumbnail. And I remember opening it up and my wife looking at me and being like, that's the size of those games. We have 2 kids under the age of 6.
Yeah.
And now we have
3. You just bought snacks.
Yeah, now we have 3. She just was like, very stressed out about the idea of keeping these games.
Well, did you tell your wife that they're covered in a disgusting bittering agent so that kids? Do you know that? That's a real thing.
Yeah, I do know that. She wasn't worried about that. It's like, nah, the kid will learn. It was more like the kid's going to take one of these games and put it under the couch, or flush it down the toilet, or any
variety of those two things.
And amazingly, to this day, and it hasn't happened to you either, but you have one very well-behaved child. I have 3, 2 of whom are not well-behaved.
Behaved adjacent.
Yes. Yeah. And somehow, the only game that has been lost was The Incredibles, which was not my game. That was one of their games. You can lose your own games. Yeah, don't lose my game.
Oh, you lost your trash?
Yeah. So, but I had a frank discussion with my then 4-year-old son that we would give him to a fire station if he lost any of my games. And he listened, so we're good.
Well, it turns out he likes having a dwelling, which is, I agree. I get it. I understand. Let's get back onto Pikmin. We've birdwalked and had our fun. So do you want to start? We'll just fast forward and go straight to Pikmin 4 since that is the big game of the day, and then maybe we'll kind of go back and pepper in other Pikmin games as we go.
Actually, I would like to just talk about Pikmin generally because I didn't and have not played Pikmin 1 or 2.
Oh.
I only played.
There goes those.
I only played Pikmin 3, but loved it so much that again in our chat, every time Nintendo would do a Nintendo Direct for years, I would tell you my number one request is that they announce Pikmin 4, which they did announce, but like they would actually announce a release date, a trailer, a something.
So they announced Pikmin 4 like it was Miyamoto in like an interview in an off the cuff remark in like 2013 or something crazy like that. Like,
and didn't he say like coming along great, almost done or something?
No, he said it's done. He said, it's done, and it'll come out when we want it to come out, kind of a thing. And I think Pikmin 3 had either just come out or was just about to come out.
Yeah.
So whether or not that game was actually Hey Pikmin for 3DS, which most people hate that game, I'll jump into there now and say it's really not that bad of a game. It's not Pikmin. It's not a Pikmin game. But it's like a cute little like 2D exploratory platformer where you do launch Pikmin to like help you get places. But I get it. Like it's not a Pikmin game, therefore people shit on it. But he may have been talking about that as Pikmin 4 and like over time things change. But at the end of the day, that game was announced like a decade ago. Yeah. And last year they showed like in a Nintendo Direct they showed like a picture of it. And and they showed the dog.
But that was enough.
Yeah, it was enough.
Because I was like, okay, it's still there. They haven't canceled it.
It exists, yeah. Well, I think here's the thing. Like, so 2020, Nintendo, like everyone else, is going through COVID. And hold on. And so they do like what anyone else would do and go back into the Double Dip treasure catalog and start making games because development is stymied, all this stuff. So they re-released Pikmin 3, and they call it Pikmin 3 Switch.
Yeah, which I bought.
And I did too, and I already own the Wii. I bought and played to death the Wii U version, but it's another Pikmin thing, so I'm buying it, period. But that game was like actually pretty much, I don't want to say like full-blown hit, but when you compare it to Pikmin, it was a hit. Like it sold several million copies.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah. And I think Nintendo felt a little bit better about Pikmin 4's chances of being a big sales thing
when
for them.
They saw how well that did.
Yeah, because it was a re-release. It was like it was one of the only Wii U games that hadn't been released to the Switch yet, and it comes out and it did really well. And so now we have Pikmin 4.
So it's weird how Nintendo does this thing that is like a lot of Nintendo things antithetical to what everybody else in gaming does. So with everybody else, and we did an entire episode on rushed ports and all the bugs that come with them, everybody else tries to get the product out as quickly as you can so you can start getting sales and recover your development costs. Nintendo, probably with Pikmin 4, certainly with Advance Wars, they held on to that game for a year. Yeah. Ready to release, just like, we're not going to release it because of the war in Ukraine and the politics of it. And I actually kind of agree with that. If you play Advance Wars, it looks very like it's kind of kidifying war.
I think it was Advance Wars. It might have been the sequel, but it was the Game Boy Advance. One of the Game Boy Advance games was supposed to come out either on 9/11 or very near 9/11. And they obviously either delayed it or there's something that happened about it. But yeah, that series is kind of a little bit in the bad luck area when it comes to military or weird fucking world events that ruin game releases.
So it's just funny though that like Nintendo is willing to do what nobody else is willing to do, which is just hold on to games until, and not even to work on them until they're ready, but just have them in a vault until the timing works out for however
that
Nintendo
game
wants it.
that no one wants and is not selling very well, but this is a perfect example of it. But everybody the sequel to 1-2 Switch, but I think it's everybody 1-2 Switch or something like that. They literally made it. It finished, completed, and like I think it did some focus testing. Yeah, and people were like, "Yeah, this game sucks."
This game sucks.
So they're like, all right, well, we'll put it in the back burner, charge $30 for it someday, and we'll just dump it out. And that's literally what they did. They just farted this game out that they'd been sitting on for however long it was, just ready to go. And if you look at, are you familiar much with the Giga Leak?
No.
Okay, so the Giga Leak is wow. Okay. This is gonna be a Pikmin focused show, but you're probably gonna lose a lot of sleep to this thing. The Giga Leak was a couple years ago, and it was like, just an insane amount of Nintendo shit that was leaked onto the internet. I think it happened during 2020, maybe 2019, but like insane stuff is leaked, like full builds of games, like for Super Nintendo games there's like stuff. There's like a build of Mario World where Yoshi looks completely different and weird and like kind of fucked up. There's just tons and tons. I can't even like begin to scratch the surface to tell you all the stuff that's in there. But if you look up Nintendo Giga Leak, you'll at least find some stuff. There's stuff on YouTube. Nintendo's been Nintendo about it though the last few years, obviously, and I've been
suing everyone
into obliteration and what have you, as they do. But there's still a lot of stuff out there, information that's been released and stuff. But yeah, we're talking like this is a company that has done this for years. Wow. They just complete games and then just sit on them because they can, and that's it.
So, all right. So I played Pikmin 3 and played it with a friend, and I just could not believe how good that game was. And also, and this is I want to emphasize this. So everybody watching, pay attention to the next like 2 minutes for one of Bob Bear's rants. So, if you were to just look at it, you would think that Pikmin, it falls into a bunch of Nintendo stereotypes. It looks very cute, looks very kidified, looks very kind of like this is what your kids would play if they're like age like 7 to 11, something like that. It does not look like it's like a game for like the PlayStation audience, something like that. And I don't know if that actually affects the sales or not. It is a Shigeru Miyamoto game, so it's like well, everybody should be buying this. But and it does look cute, and it actually is cute.
Yeah.
But holy Christ, there is an amazing game in here. The gameplay of this game, which we'll get into, is incredible. It is really fun and really awesome.
So I want to jump in here too because you brought up a lot of key points about the visual style of this game. So let's talk. I want to ask you specific questions about your tastes and what have you.
All right.
So when you see a game like Pikmin, and so one thing that you left out that describes every Pikmin game is photorealistic. And I'm not saying that the games are like, like, whoa, like, crazy, like ray tracing. Obviously, it's a Switch game and before. But that was always the deal, is like, this is the Nintendo franchises that is trying to emulate photorealism as much as possible up to the tech that they can handle. And then, like, yeah, they do have, like, the cutification stuff in there. So my question to you is this. When you see, either now or historically throughout your gaming tastes, when you see a game that is quote-unquote cute, so like an example I would pull out of the old bag would be Wind Waker. What is like your instant gut reaction to stuff like that? Like, are you appalled by it? Is there an interest there? Is it banality? Like, how does that stuff rub you?
It's a turnoff.
Straight up turnoff.
Yeah, it's not. It's the kind of thing you can get over because Wind Waker is apparently great and Pikmin is absolutely great. But when you see it, and this is why I want to emphasize this point so much because I know there's a whole bunch of people out there that are like me and that see then it's like, oh, it's for kids. It's just it's going to be young. It's going to be simplistic. It's not going to have like a gripping narrative, a gripping character arc, gritty, dark anti-heroes.
Yeah, definitely not that.
It's none of that. And so when you see all that stuff and you're like, well, if I know it doesn't have those things, so what does it have going for it then? And it's such a unique gameplay premise. It's like, well, unless you sit there and play it, or you have somebody play it with you or tell you need to play this game, it's not the kind of thing that a certain gaming demographic, you could call it like the gamer bro demographic or whatever you want to say. I'll just say the median PlayStation gamer, certainly anybody who's Call of Duty is their favorite game, like all of that crowd. They're not going to want to play those kinds of games. And if you go on like certain social media sites, like Nintendo to this day has that reputation. And then I go in there as one of that crowd. It's like, hey, I'm with you guys. I love Grand Theft Auto and I love like all the big Sony exclusives and Uncharted and all that. But don't sleep on Nintendo. These games are all really, really good. The games that look like they're for 10-year-olds are still really fun if you're a 40-year-old. It's okay, guys. It's okay to like Pikmin. It's okay to like Mario. It's okay to like Donkey Kong. It's okay to like these things.
Buddy, I've been playing Pokemon since I'm way too old.
No, you're...
no, it's funny.
I'm never talking to you when I...
Well, that's what's weird. So, like, obviously... We've said on this very episode, like our Venn diagram, we have like the little sliver where we're completely fucking different people when it comes to everything else. But like all this stuff, like it's such an appeal to me. Like when I see something like when I saw Wind Waker for the first time, I was like, holy shit! Like I couldn't believe how cool it looked. And same with Pikmin, like and not just Nintendo, like that any sort of aesthetic to me that like is vibrant or anything at all that's unique or that's doing like something that is like authentic. Any of that stuff, like it can be hyper creepy, gross, violent, and I'll be into it. Like I love Suda51 games, and those are totally hyper violent and creepy and gross, but with a little hint of cartoonishness to them. And then Nintendo, which is like as mass market, vibrant kitty as you can get. Like to me, that stuff is such a draw, and I can't get enough of it, as witnessed here by my precious memories. But yeah, it's just weird how because obviously you're not at all alone on that, and I don't think it's ever going to change. Like I think with gaming, you're always going to have.
We're changing it with this episode.
Yeah, that's right here, right now.
just like with Metroid likes.
Yeah, exactly.
Changing the culture.
Changing the culture one bit, one view at a time. But yeah, to me, like it's hard for me to wrap my head around the opposite way of thinking, where it's like, how do you not see something like Pikmin and not be intrigued by it? Like, how does that not just like activate, like the fucking little kid part of your brain that like, you see wonderment and imagination and so on and so forth. But I mean, folks is different. So I guess it just boils down to that. But anyway, I'd never asked you that question before. And, I think it's about time we got it out there.
Well, and it comes up a lot because I remember I didn't own a Nintendo console for a really long time between the N64 and the Switch. And then you get the Switch and I'm playing all these Nintendo exclusives or all these big brands. A lot of them came over from the Wii U and just having a great time with it. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is a cutesy platformer.
But that game is hard as fuck.
Well, the gameplay is hard.
It's like...
But if we're just talking about the aesthetics, when you're just looking at it, then it's like that would be a turnoff to a lot of people. It's like, oh, it's another platforming game. It's a very cute. And the reason, so without defending it, because I'm a fan of Pikmin, the reason why it's a turnoff, I believe, and I think I could speak for everyone on this.
Oh yeah, totally.
Is because when you see cute stuff like that, you think of things that are simple and not it's basically the same word, but not sophisticated, and so therefore it's not going to be interesting.
I think you nailed it there. The lack of sophistication perceived in something like a Pikmin.
Yeah,
I could see someone who doesn't know anything
the appearance.
At all. Yeah, the appearance,
just based on the appearance.
And to someone who doesn't know anything about video games, like just coming in with fresh eyes, like I could see why someone would make that assumption.
And this is a little mini bird walk, but it sort of relates is that so right now there's a game called Dave the Diver on PC that's sort of all the rage, and it's coming out on Switch this year, and you're going to buy it. I will buy it for you if I have to.
Fair enough.
It's a wonderful experience.
I like free things.
When you play that game, the graphics look somewhere between 8 and 16-bit. And you think within the first 5 minutes of the game that you know what the game is, because it's like, well, these graphics are pretty simple. You're diving in the water, you're stabbing fish, and then you're bringing them back to your boat. I think I played this on an old Apple IIe in sixth grade. And then the game opens up, and then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how much content there actually is here. Wow, this is really amazing.
Is it like a Frog Fractions, where there's like a total bait and switch, where you think the game is one thing and all of a sudden just whammo, it's different?
No.
Okay.
What happens is you think you know the scope of the content in the game, and then it just keeps adding on systems and features and whatever as the game opens up and you get further into it. It's like, okay, now you can do this, and now you can do this, and now you can do this. So it is the gameplay is mostly, or at least about half of it, is you in the ocean fishing or trying to hunt fish. But then it's so much more than that when as they tack things on. I don't want to say anything more than to spoil it, but I was very, very impressed by just how broad the content was. I was like, wow, this looks like it's one thing. It's actually something else. Pikmin it's that. If you just look at it and you think like it's a cutesy little game where you're just kind of in a garden with a bunch of little creatures, and there's actually a depth to the gameplay, a variety of gameplay innovations that we'll get to in a second, and just like fun strategic elements that just make it just so gripping, and it's so interesting to just play it and then keep playing and keep playing and keep playing it. And that's without it really, like most Nintendo games, it doesn't really have like a super compelling story.
Yeah,
this game is about. It's a little bit about aesthetic and environmental design, and it's like 85 to 90% about just how really super fun the gameplay is. So that's the feature, but it's so good that I'm trying to like bang this drum as loudly as I can to tell everybody out there. If you just look at Pikmin, people, and you think that you don't need to play it because it's not going to be sophisticated, you're wrong, because it is a fantastic franchise. This is probably the best entry in the franchise. It's a fantastic game.
I totally agree with that. Let's continue jumping down this. Let's just get right into Pikmin 4.
Okay.
So out of the first thing that I noticed with the dog, right?
Yeah.
The mobility, everything about movement in the game has been improved like tenfold.
So that's correct, and that was one of the problems before, is that Pikmin is at its core, it's an RTS game.
Yeah.
And we did an RTS episode and we mentioned Pikmin, and there's a whole bunch. See, this is why people need to try new things. Your typical RTS fan is going to be the kind of person to look at Pikmin and say, "This is an RTS? What? No, I'm not playing this."
Right.
When you play it, it's an RTS.
Yeah, it's no question.
It's different, but it's interesting, and you and I both like innovation, and it's really, really innovative. So part of the gambit of the game is you have these little creatures and you send them out to pick up objects in the world, and then they bring them back. And one of the very few flaws that the original three games had is that there's kind of a mobility issue where it's a little lame when you're sort of out on one side of the level and you tell your guys to pick something up, and then you got to run somewhere else and it takes forever.
Well, so Pikmin 3 for the Wii U, which is on the Wii U, so no one's gonna play it. That game is like, it's one of the only Wii U games that does what the Wii U is supposed to do, like at its peak powers. So you have in that game you have the 3 different people that you can command.
Yeah.
On the gamepad, you have a view of the map the entire time, and you're literally pointing like, I want this person to go to there with this army of Pikmin, and I want this person to go up here with that one.
Yeah.
And so like that one, like having the flexibility that you had with that and the gamepad, like it's never going to be that way ever again. But to make up for that, it's the dog.
Yeah, they've given you that.
And they've taken that thing that they can't give you anymore because you don't have a fucking gamepad on the Switch.
Yeah.
And they tried to like do a different version of it on Deluxe, if I remember correctly, but you had to like switch back and forth to a menu screen, and it was kind of clunky. But with the dog now, like it has all the features of that shit, but in this adorable little form factor that you also get to train and level up and do all that other stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
turns out pets in video games are
it's a win.
It's a win every
single
time.
It's a win.
Yeah. So I guess I'll because I'm trying to sell everybody on playing this game and most people haven't. I'll explain very, very quickly that what the game is, and this is, man, Shigeru Miyamoto. Boy, he is responsible for the idea, the core concept of Pikmin, yes,
the original game, and then just like the overall. The story was he used to play in a garden as a kid all the time, and then as an adult he does a lot of gardening.
It's funny, like how, like these iconic video game franchises are all basically a byproduct of him just having a big imagination as a child
and as an adult.
Yeah, and as an adult too. Yeah. So he's like, oh, I used to explore the forest and caves in Kyoto, and so that's where Zelda comes from.
Yeah, no, totally.
And then Pikmin.
So Pikmin is his idea, and then he kind of gave it out, and now like he hasn't worked on a Pikmin game since the original one, but he is like the guy that goes out and like kind of he's like the face of it. He promotes it, and he doesn't he certainly obviously doesn't shy away from the fact that Pikmin was his game initially, but now it's a whole separate team.
But he's doing his Shigeru things, right? Where like they'll show him a beta copy and he'll say like, oh, you know what, this game needs a dog, and then that'll make it a lot better. And then
totally.
They just make.
As far as I assume, that's still his role. It's just he just walks in and goes, turn that down, turn that up. Now your game's perfect. See you later, like that kind of a deal.
So the gameplay is you are in charge of these little alien creatures in like a sandbox that is sort of a miniaturized version. Think like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids of somebody's house, like a backyard, a garden, things like that. And then you take the creatures, and the creatures have different abilities. So you might have a creature that's really good with water, and so there might be a sprinkler that's going off in the backyard. And then you can take your water creatures; they will be immune to the sprinkler, and then they'll be able to turn the sprinkler off. But if you shoot your red creatures at the sprinkler, then they'll get freaked out by the water, and then you might lose them. So the entire game is basically just taking different creatures that have different specializations.
So the creatures, by the way, are called Pikmin.
They're called Pikmin.
It's important to get that out there.
Yes.
The Pikmin are the things that you control. And before you run on into I know where your brain's at, and you wanna get into the gameplay.
Been doing this a long time.
And you want to get to the RTS part of the game.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing that Pikmin does that other games don't do in this genre. Like, you have a total attachment to Pikmin. At least I do. Like, the first time I ever saw one, I was like, what is this little weird... It reminded me so much of that episode of The Simpsons where Burns gets the eye drops and he's like the alien, like, bring you peace. And that's what Pikmin always looked like to me. But like in other RTSs now, and obviously I don't have a dog in that race because RTSs are bad games. But like, you have no attachment. I mean, some people do. Like, obviously StarCraft dorks have their attachment to their units or whatever. But like, by and large, comparing like the characterizations of like a unit in a Command and Conquer or an Age of Empires, what have you, like, it's not the same thing. Like, Pikmin have personality. Pikmin, and the longer the games have gone, like, they have more and more like individual little animations. Like, there's so much more character to these units in this RTS game than in any other game that even like is in the same barnyard as this thing. And that's what really separates Pikmin from. And it's one of many things that separates Pikmin away from the pack when it comes to RTS games.
So in this one, when you're riding the dog, and then all your Pikmin jump on the dog, so you're like a little army rolling around the map. If you don't do anything for a while, they'll start singing cute little hymns. Yeah. I don't know if they did that in the prior games. I don't think they did. But they definitely do it in this game.
That stuff, from what I remember, that stuff kind of started in Pikmin 2.
Oh, okay.
And Pikmin 1, I mean, the charm has been in the series since the beginning. Like, the Pikmin have always been these little charismatic little boogers since the very beginning. But they've added like so much more to that over time, for sure.
So now the Venn diagram between you and I splits a little bit because being the ruthless dictator that I am,
naturally,
if sacrifices have to be made and some Pikmin have to drown in the water or get eaten up by some angry plant or something like that, I'm willing to make those sacrifices.
So you're making an assumption based on my fondness for the cute critters and the charming character put into these things. You're making an assumption that I don't also gleefully murder them in order for me to gain what I need to gain on my battlefield. And that's where your assumption is incorrect.
I shouldn't have made that assumption because, and it's weird how this works out, because usually when we talk about our different video game personalities, I'm the white hat, like always choosing the good character, always choosing the good options.
But I'm out there pickpocketing people. Yeah.
But Pikmin, they're not people. I mean, sure, they're cute, but hey, man, I've got a whistle that I have to bring back to the spaceship, and if I have to lose 10 Pikmin so that I can get that whistle to the spaceship, they're going to get lost.
Eggs are going to be broken. We definitely agree there. Let's take a pause here. We're going to come back to part 2 of this Pikmin extravaganza. We've just scratched the surface. Just scratched the surface. But more Pikmin talk on part 2.